Once hailed as the perfect society, Sweden was the country everyone wanted to be. The land of clean streets, rising salaries, flawless equality, and smiling faces. A place so efficient and humane that the rest of the world pointed to it as proof that fairness could work. But that image is breaking. Fast. Today, the Nordic utopia faces an identity crisis. Rising crime, soaring prices, a growing number of citizens who simply don't want to live there anymore. The same country that once opened its arms to the world is now watching its own children walk away. How does that happen? How does a nation built on safety, trust, and social care begin to fracture from the inside? This is the story of how Sweden went from admired miracle to modern warning, and to understand why we have to return to the moment when everything seemed perfect. After World War II, Sweden emerged almost untouched. Factories thrived, exports soared, and the idea of folkhemmet, the people's home, defined its mission. Everyone would belong, everyone would be protected. Education was free, healthcare universal, jobs plentiful. By the 1970s, the Swedish model had become the global gold standard. A small country with high taxes and even higher happiness. It balanced capitalism with compassion so smoothly that other governments tried to copy it. But behind that balance lay a quiet risk. The system depended on constant growth, and when industries demanded more workers, Sweden opened its doors wider. First came Europeans seeking stable labour, then refugees escaping wars further away. Each wave added new energy, but also new complexity. Through the 1980s and 1990s, demographics shifted fast. The social net stretched to accommodate a far more diverse and urban population. What had been a cohesive family grew into something multicultural, energetic, and increasingly divided in its expectations. The dream still looked strong on the surface, but the ground beneath it was starting to move. By the early 2000s, Sweden wore its generosity like a badge of honour. When others closed borders, it opened them wider. Tens of thousands arrived yearly, escaping war and poverty. It was a moral choice and a logistical challenge few foresaw. Some neighbourhoods doubled in population within a decade. Housing prices soared. Waiting lists stretched for years. Schools in immigrant-heavy districts struggled to hire teachers fast enough. Authorities kept calm. They said the same thing again and again. Integration takes time. But on the ground, frustration was building. Police warned about growing gang networks. Teachers described classrooms split by language and culture. And many immigrants themselves said they felt isolated, cut off from the rest of Swedish life. In 2022, Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson admitted it bluntly. Integration had failed. Parallel societies now existed side by side, some governed as much by local gangs as by law. Half the country demanded stricter borders, the other half feared the loss of the nation's soul. And while politicians argued, Sweden's streets began to tell their own story, one written in fear. By the mid-2010s, Sweden's calm reputation was gone. Gunfire echoed through suburbs once known for peace. Explosions targeted rival groups. Entire blocks flickered under police floodlights. The firearm homicide rate tripled between 2013 and 2022. Over 60 people died by gunfire in a single year. For a nation once praised for safety, it felt unreal. Residents began locking doors before dusk. Parents stopped letting kids walk home alone. And every new headline chipped away at the country's confidence. The violence wasn't constant, but it was unpredictable. That randomness made people feel it could strike anywhere. Soon, silence itself became eerie. Not peace, but a pause before the next blast. Anger rose alongside exhaustion. Some blamed immigration. Others blamed weak policing. Most just wanted normal life back. But the deeper the fear settled, the more people started to wonder if the Sweden they knew was gone forever. And as insecurity ruled the streets, another pressure closed in. One that hit people where it hurts, their wallets. While the headlines focused on crime, daily life was being squeezed from another side. Prices climbed in silence. Groceries that once filled a basket now barely covered the bottom. Rent in major cities soared beyond reach. Stockholm became one of Europe's priciest capitals, where a single adult might spend over $2,400 a month just to survive, and still not find available housing. Owning a home was once a mark of independence. Now it's an unreachable dream. Property values have more than tripled since the 1990s. Even those earning well feel trapped, taxed heavily, rewarded lightly. Sweden's tax to GDP ratio hovers above 42%, among the world's highest. The social contract costs more but comforts less. Inflation pushes families to cut essentials. Electric bills, fuel, food, everything bites harder, and when even small luxuries disappear, morale does too. By 2024, more than 86,000 citizens left the country, most of them under 40. They weren't running from violence, they were running from stagnation. The cracks were no longer social, they were structural. And then came the policy that turned heads around the world. In 2025, Sweden's desperation became global news. The government quietly proposed paying immigrants to go home, about $34,000 per person. What began as a small return scheme turned into an international controversy. Critics called it moral collapse. Supporters called it necessary realism. For the first time, the country that preached inclusion was funding departures. It was a symbolic turning point, evidence that its faith in endless openness had broken. These payouts came alongside the harshest immigration rules in Swedish history. Permanent residency required full Swedish fluency, proven employment, and total self-sufficiency. Asylum approvals dropped by over 80% compared with the mid-2010s. In the most troubled districts, police declared security zones. Military patrols backed them up, a sight older Swedes never expected to see in their lifetime. The government said the changes would restore order. But in truth, they revealed a leadership unsure of itself. Despite curfews, raids, and payouts, the exodus continued. Trust, the heart of Sweden's system, was slipping away. For generations, people dreamed of moving to Sweden. Now, Swedes themselves are packing to leave. In 2024, the number departing surpassed the number arriving, a reversal not seen in modern Swedish history. Who's leaving? Young engineers, tech developers, creatives, the very talent any modern economy depends on. Ask them why, and you'll hear the same refrain. It's too expensive, too slow. I can't build a future here. High taxes eat promotions. Housing feels impossible. And even optimism costs more than it used to. They move to Germany, the UK, or Norway, places where paychecks stretch and rent doesn't consume half their lives. Each departure drains more than labour. It drains spirit. Economists warn of an aging nation, fewer taxpayers, and a welfare model running out of fuel. For the first time, Sweden risks becoming the example no one wants to follow. The irony cuts deep. A country built by migration now losing its own citizens to economic refuge. Every crisis forces a reckoning. Sweden's isn't over, but it's far from hopeless. Beneath the fatigue, there's determination. Local volunteers repair what bureaucracy can't. Teaching language, mentoring youth, patrolling streets. A new generation of leaders promises reform. Some tougher, some more pragmatic. All aware that survival means evolution. Yet the core question haunts every debate. Can this country defend its ideals without breaking them again? Growth is slowing, confidence fading, but the instinct to rebuild remains. Sweden has reinvented itself before. After war, after depression, after doubt. Maybe this is another such moment, because utopias don't collapse in a day. They erode slowly until reality demands a rewrite, and the decisions Sweden makes now will decide whether its legend ends in tragedy or begins anew as proof that even when a society breaks, it can still find its balance again.